welcome to Focus on Parliament. My name is Nancy Caroline Ayot. I'm your host. Today we are looking at a deeply troubling issue, the continued abductions of Ugandan citizens and the broader human rights violations unfolding in the country. We've received reports of unlawful detentions and enforced disappearances, targeting not just political players, activists, but also ordinary citizens, like the clergy. It raises questions about the state of rule of law and safety of Ugandans. Parliament is constitutionally mandated to protect human rights, provide oversight over security agencies, and to hold the executive accountable. These violations persist, and we wonder if Parliament is rising to this responsibility or if it is falling short. Today with me in studio, I have a panel of two incredible gentlemen, and they're going to unpack this issue with me. I will start introducing them from my extreme left coming in. We have Mr. Apollo Tusime. Mr. Apollo, welcome to Focus on Parliament.
Thank you. I'm always pleased to be part of this platform. I am looking forward to very interesting conversations, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you so much, sir. And then we have Mr. Kazova Charles. Sir, welcome to Focus on Parliament.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm humbled once again to be appearing on this discussion, and I'm pleased, of course, to be meeting you for the first time. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. Yes, so to dive straight into this discussion, usually when we hear about abductions and enforced disappearances, we think this is the first time it is happening in the history of Uganda. However, to the best of my knowledge, I know that previous regimes under Idi Amin, under Obote too, but also under Tito Okello Lutwa had similar circumstances. And the reason why perhaps it might be surprising is that people expected that the NRA regime would be different. So to begin the conversation, Mr. Apollo, I would like to ask, what have previous parliaments done about this? Yes.
Yes, Parliament, the previous parliaments, I'm not so sure what exactly you're referring to, but I hope you're talking about the parliaments.
Allow me reframe.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Please.
What have previous parliaments done to hold the executive accountable, especially when there are issues of human rights violations against citizens, like unlawful detentions and forced disappearances?
Parliament is a creation of the Constitution, and the Constitution is very clear about these human rights violations and protecting the dignity of the citizens without regard for either status or anything. And Parliament is central in its role to legislate, but also to do oversight on the excesses of the executive and other arms of government. Therefore, Parliament, within its mandate, should be the first line of defense when we are talking about the defense of human rights. But we have over time, we have seen, or we have witnessed Parliament as, not coming out strongly and asserting itself on matters relating to human rights violations. We have had a bad history, like you've said, with past regimes, tainted with human rights violations, extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, and all that. And that was that formed the basis of the Constitution, the 1995 Constitution that we have today. And unfortunately, even when you look back, you see that there has been, during this government, the NRM government, ever since it took power, you can recall a string of incidents which exhibited or which demonstrated gross human rights violations. The more recent case or incident is you remember, if you remember, the Nalufenya,
Yes.
which was later closed, where people were held in incommunicado, in detention, people were tortured, people came out with wounds, and still people still carry those wounds of Nalufenya. But again, when you also move fast forward, looking at the unresolved murders that have been happening in this country, when you look at even all the aspects of human rights, you see that our human rights record as Uganda has been declining, and it is not something we can shy away from. But within the mandate of Parliament, we know that Parliament has a committee on human rights, which is mandated to summon and has powers to summon and question the people who are implicated in cases of human rights violations. But most often, the Human Rights Committee of Parliament, like the whole institution of Parliament, has not actually performed to its expectations. The people who have been summoned to that committee, of course, you expect that the reports would perhaps the reports would perhaps be brought to the floor of Parliament, the reports discussed, and perhaps the recommendations taken forward to perhaps see the people taken to courts or what. But that has not been the case. If I can pick or recall the incident of the late Minister for Security, General Eli Tumwine. He was before the Parliamentary Committee on Human Rights. But what happened? And that's also takes us to the independence of Parliament, that the Parliament as an institution, like I said, which should be at the center, at the forefront of defending the human rights of citizens, its independence has been questionable over time. So with a Parliament that is not independent in its decisions, in its dispensation of its mandate, then of course you may expect less or not much from that Parliament. So to answer your question, Parliament on record has been losing its independence, and we have reached a point where some critics look at Parliament as now a walking stick of the executive, a rubber stamp of the executive, and that's when you cannot expect much from the institution in matters of defending the human rights of citizens.
Thank you very much, Mr. Apollo. We have been joined on the panel by Council Collins Imbaza. Council, welcome to Focus on Parliament. Right before you joined us, we were talking about how it has been with previous parliaments in terms of holding the executive accountable for their oversights. So Mr. Apollo just concluded his submission, and I will also get your take on that, especially on the previous constitutions and how they were supposed to ensure checks and balances. So, but first I'll come back to Mr. Kazova Charles, and I'll ask you the same question really, but in a different form. Why is it so difficult to hold the executive accountable in this country?
First of all, we must understand the nature of our government. it is a military government, that came as a result of rebellion, although they would prefer to call it a revolution, but they were generally rebels. The concept of human rights was not in their doctrine because they were not a professional army. These were guerrillas who came from the bush. So human rights was secondary when they came into government. Now, for anybody that puts the NRM government on the spot via human rights is seen more or less like an enemy, not even just an opponent, but an enemy, because human rights shakes the foundation of this government. They are used to doing things which result into the violation of human rights. Why wouldn't Parliament, for instance, hesitate to check this government? We have, the same government has instituted a human rights commission. By the way, that organization is supposed to be an autonomous organization, but it is under Ministry of Justice and I think Constitutional Affairs. Parliament also has a human rights committee. So when the Human Rights Commission makes reports, they table them to Parliament for discussion through the Speaker. And it is through that discussion that citizens are invited and other groups are invited to interface on the state of human rights in the country. During my time when I was covering Parliament, I observed one thing, that Parliament as an institution deliberately may not want to go into the area of effectively tackling human rights violations, because it is largely dominated by government people, government members of Parliament. However, at individual level, those that are passionate about human rights have excelled at putting government to task via human rights violations. I'll give you one example. The late Honorable Chanjo, I remember I worked with him closely via torture cases in safe houses. Chanjo was an excellent investigator, leave alone being a legislator. This guy would find out what was happening in almost all safe houses in the country. And he even knew the people that were there, the citizens that were in those safe houses. So Chanjo would bring this information to the attention of Parliament, and the Parliament would pronounce itself on some of these cases, and they would be released. So at individual level, the late Honorable Chanjo excelled in that area because he was passionate. But passion aside, you see, going to the area of human rights, like I've just told you, the state sees you as an enemy. Why do you have to ask certain things? Why do you have to push so hard. For instance, if like the army has just admitted that that they have arrested a priest, and it's 10 days down the road. So if you're a legislator, you would be asking, first of all, why should it be the army to arrest, yet it is the mandate of, the law enforcement is the mandate of police. But also, two, why 10 days? If you don't have evidence, if you cannot take somebody to court after 48 hours, why not release the person? So those are some of the questions that any ordinary legislator would be asking. But now, when you begin asking those questions and you're a legislator, you also have to be mindful. Can your people bring you back to parliament? If the state intervened in your constituency, is it likely that your people can overwhelm that pressure and they bring you back? Or the state might succeed and compromise your electorate and they throw you out. So some of those issues legislators will ask. But aside of the Human Rights Committee in Parliament, of course they have done some good job. They have visited some safe houses, although in some cases it is more of a formality because they will first notify that we are coming. And of course, if you are notifying security people that we are going to visit, these guys will have cleaned up the place. You might not even find suspects there. I remember there is a time when Parliament, I think, declared safe houses illegal. I don't know. But I think there was that time, especially during the Kalangara cases. Parliament had declared
They
this.
were denied access to safe houses. I was, I escorted the team.
Yes.
The committee, the chairperson of the Committee of Parliament.
Yes.
To Chengera, where
yes.
there was a suspected.
During Kaka's time.
Yes. Suspected safe house, but we were blocked at the gate.
Yes. But in the previous parliaments, you know, our parliaments have been diminishing in terms of empowerment. Even the quality itself. Most MPs now are in parliament because they are looking for jobs. But in the past, people would go to parliament to really provide a service, not just to look for money. And during those times, there were legislators who stood their ground. The parliament of the Winibianyimas, although there were abuses, there were human rights violations, but they did some commendable work, including passing some pieces of legislations. Now, why is today's parliament not checking government seriously or effectively on human rights violations? You have to begin with, first of all, the leadership of parliament itself. You start with how the current speaker and deputy speaker became chairs of our current parliament. Look at the commissioners. They are more or less lobbyists. They lobbied to get into those offices. A speaker who kneels before the president and calls him Messiah. She wants to equate the president to Jesus. You cannot expect much from such a parliament. So citizens are denied representation in that area. You remember when NUP, under the leadership of Honorable Ompuga, Oil Commissioner, were protesting until government came up with some very scant details on the abductions that happened in the previous elections. You saw how generally Parliament reacted to that. And at the end of the day, there wasn't justice served by Parliament. Because ordinarily, Parliament is an institution that represents society to check the executive excesses. But now, our Parliament has become an extension of the executive. That's why the President has, on a number of occasions in public, confessed that he has no issues with the current Parliament. The current Parliament is not disturbing his sleep. So he can do whatever he wants to do. But also, you've seen the Human Rights Commission complain that they are not empowered enough to do their job. They don't have the resources, they don't have the protection, and that can only be done by Parliament. But our Parliament has ignored Honorable, our woman at Human Rights Commission. They look at her as if she's an alien speaking a language that they don't understand. Why? Because they do not want to annoy the president, they don't want to annoy the executive. I have also seen a report done by the Attorney General, this Attorney General Chiwanuka, that he tabled at the African Union. You know, regularly countries are supposed to report on their status of human rights in the countries. However, nobody follows up. Is it true? Are the things that the executive is talking about true? Our legislators are supposed to be doing that for us, because a citizen might not have access to such big, high places. But our Parliament largely is doing a disservice. And when you look at the abductions that continue to happen, you see, when you have children, your kid will begin by stealing a coin of 500 to go and buy pancake at school. You will not intervene, but after some time, he will steal the 10,000 from your pocket. You ignore this young person. As this kid grows into an adult, the man will become an armed robber. So the abductions that we have been witnessing are likely to result into a much bigger thing than what we are discussing. And it is going to affect everybody, whether you are in government or opposition or just a silent citizen somewhere observing what is happening. So it is upon each and every citizen of this country to come out, not only to condemn, but also to pressurize the executive and bring the perpetrators of these violations to book. Otherwise, even the ministers will one day be abducted. Me, I'm telling you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kazova. Now, to bring Council Collins to the conversation, I think you have gotten a grip of what we are majorly discussing, and you know, to bring us to the legal aspects, especially constitutionally speaking. We've had previous constitutions in this country, and did they expressly talk about human rights, or does the 1995 constitution as it is as it is supposed to have made up for the shortcomings of all the previous constitutions, especially in terms of protecting the human rights of citizens from the executive.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, everyone. I'm so much honored to be here with. I think it's my first time to be on a panel with a former MP, and so it is.
No, me, I wasn't there for a member of parliament.
You were there actually, and it's so amazing that human rights, they are born rights. They are not given by anyone.
Yeah.
That's something we should first appreciate. That you obtain your rights from day one. I can say from conception. So until you grow up to be a human, and you have to, then this when they become to be human rights. But these are naturally given by God. So as to your question, I would say that even though we would not be having a constitution, these rights we are created by them.
Inherent.
Apart from the state wanting to misuse them. And in wanting to misuse them, we would want to look at other constitutions, as you've said. Other constitutions also looked on those things. Human rights have always been there. I would be so much pleased to say that our 1995 constitution was brought into press by even great men like Kanyahamba was on the team, those of Kadaga, and many people on that team that brought our constitution on board. Unfortunately, they have not maybe lived to see what they were putting ahead. As my colleague was saying, these abductions that are rotating around, the human rights violations that are rotating around, they have not begun today. They have been there. Them being there, I would expect the people we put on board to come out and speak for us. That would be my position. If you send an MP to Parliament, you've not sent him there for his own. That is not his office. He is there to represent the entire constituency. Meaning, literally has not even to speak about his own issues. He has to speak the issues of the people who have sent him there. So he should even be the last person to speak about himself. I'm so much overwhelmed by them being there, and what they focus on, my colleague was saying, they look for jobs. That's not a job house. That is a house where you're presenting the last person in the village, the last person who has never even been in Kampala, who even doesn't know how Parliament looks like. You're their eye-opener. So if you're their eye-opener and you cannot go deep to understand why that problem is there, expose what you think, even because even whenever they come to our villages or to the society or the concern, people complain. People tell them this is not right, but they don't go ahead to put it on the table. Why? Because they're overshadowed by, I can speak it out, by the money in that house. I think we should be now looking on the point of not paying these MPs. Government should also try to look at that. It will also enable us to have quality there. Because there are those people who go there purposely to make money, and they forget why they're there. So I think if we had a way out, I think there shouldn't even be these people being paid. When they're not paid, I think we shall have right people who are yearning to enter that house. Because these people who are yearning to go there, they're just going to make money. So we cut off all the payments there, then you'll see what will happen. You don't even see these parliamentarians. It can even go empty. So let me go back to abductions that we are facing right now. I'm not happy to say it, but this has been happening. It's not the first time a Catholic priest has been abducted. When you remember in the regime of Amin, there is also a massacre priest that was abducted, and even up to now, they have never seen him. So when you look at all these things,
Regime of Amin?
Yeah, it was around 1979, around there.
I think what stands out is the general
The general
incident of 70.
Yes, but
But
on
also
record,
other
there's-
religious leaders.
yes, on that record, in Amin's regime, there's a priest who went missing. Even up to now, they've never seen him. Then when you look at Jananum, so you will find
Even
that
the Muslims.
if the
Muslim clerics,
yes, so I'm coming to. You find that now the government, I may not only say Museveni's government, but I'm trying to say that the state itself or the other governments are forgetting that religion has always been parcel of leadership. So if now you find you're a state and you're fighting religion, then there is a challenge in that Muslims have tested it. If right now you meet Muslims and talking to them, they say, the government tortures us. We are the people who are the terrorists, we are the what, we are the what.
Scapegoats.
Yes. And when they arrest them, you know what happens. I've never seen justice. They're always being brought to court, and it ends there. As he said, Janan Rumum, those were Anglicans. They have faced it. Catholics have faced it, and it is not good. What I would want us to look at is to, as he said, the Uganda Human Rights Commission needs to come out. Last time, I'm sorry to say it, the chairperson of the Uganda Human Rights Commission came out to speak about when Eddie Mutu had been detained. She came out to speak up something. Then I saw the first son also was shaking.
She issued a directive.
Yes, the first son was shaking the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission, and where it ended, it did not end in good hands. Even up to now, Eddie Mutu has never come out. So what does this mean? You've seen we used to have NGOs coming on board to also come and condemn this. But right now, they cannot come out to say all this because they're not even sometimes funded. They're funded for other projects. So you find when they are to come, the better NGO which used to come out and speak was, there's this NGO which they closed in 2021. They started saying it was doing those, it was funding the gays and whatsoever.
Chapter 4?
Leave alone chapter 4. There's another NGO, it was covering actually most of African countries. It was this DFG something of sort.
DGF.
Yes, they closed it. It was the only NGO that would come out and say, look, you can testify, you people have been going to safe house. Sometimes they only choose used to finance the people, the activists who would come out and say, this is not right. But because of our government, they ended up closing it and chasing it out of the country. We no longer have it. And the people who are there, who would now be talking for us, they're incapacitated. I will go back to what my colleague has said. I'm privileged to say that I saw our speaker, studying law. I got a chance to tutor her. I think she would have embraced the Constitution by that particular time. I'm speaking out of evidence. She was in my class. I taught her, I know that. But if now the speaker, as he said, has reached a point of not appreciating what the law is, I think by the time she was coming to study law, because she had other qualifications, she was coming to embrace how the country works along with the laws. And who are the people who speak for our laws? They are the legislators. Because literally, even though I come and sit in TV and I speak, it may stop here, but there's this person who can access the president and speak and say, you know what, I, the speaker, have refused this. Sometimes Kadaga would refuse. Kadaga would say, no, this shouldn't be done like this. And as my colleague said, Museveni would say, this parliament is giving me hard time. I'm having sleepless night, but right now he's sleeping. So we need to understand that there is a time all this, as you said, can turn against everyone. And why don't we have checks and balances is that you will look on the point of knowing that the MP of, let's say, Kampala Central is the same minister. So who will check the other? How can you check yourself? Executive has to check Parliament. Judiciary has to check all of them. All the three arms check themselves. But what overwhelms us is that the minister, the executive itself, is the same.
Actually, it is the legislature that should be checking the executive.
Yes. So you find that now the MP, the legislators who have to check the executive members, they are the same people who occupy those positions. So when will they ever check themselves? Isn't the country now going into tatters? Don't you see that we need a point of, or we need somewhere to say, ministers shouldn't be legislators. If you want to be a minister, you're off from being a legislator. So that at least when a minister is called on the floor to speak about something, there is this independent person or a neutral person who is going to ask those questions. But now, if I'm the Minister of Constitution and Justice, Minister of Constitution and Justice Affairs and whatsoever, and at the same time I'm the Minister or I'm the Attorney General, but maybe I'm an MP, that those things I even not speak because I don't want people to ask me those questions or to hide myself. So we are facing this thing because there is hidden identities that should be coming out to speak. So if the executive is comprised of parliamentarians are composed are full in executive, we shall never have a country that builds its core on democracy or that builds on the core of appreciating each and every principle of rule of law. So those are the challenges we face. I would want to see a country that is free to everyone. If right now the president has got a presidential advisors, but what do you think they advise him? I've not seen on a panel, apart from his friends, if you've not been his friend, you'll never be his advisor. It is always comprised of his friends, whom they will meet instead of maybe talking about to the nation, what the nation is facing. They will take coffee and start remembering what they did in the bush and nothing. They will not talk about us. So generally, as my colleagues have been saying, there is a very great challenge in that house. And if maybe it calls us, the citizens, to come out and speak on our end, then there's also another problem. Where do you begin speaking from? You say, I'm going to pass maybe a peaceful demonstration. They'll take you as label that you're not, if the Constitution provides that. But if you come out to do that, you're blocked. You're becoming a rebel. You're becoming something else.
Before you preempt our entire conversation,
Yes.
I am going to stop you right there and allow us to go for a break. But also, when we come back, we'll not just be looking at the impact on civic space, but also for solutions, because I don't want us to believe that we cannot get out of this entire problem. Ladies and gentlemen, keep it focused on Parliament. We'll be back after a short break.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back from the short break. Now we will go into a conversation about the civic space. Abductions usually mean intimidations for the people of this country. I'm going to get your thoughts on this, Mr. Apollo. How do abductions, especially of opposition figures, activists, community leaders, and now like the clergy, how does it affect political participation and civic engagement, especially now that the country is approaching elections?
Of course, the environment, the politicians and everyone is operating in will be toxic when such things are happening, when abductions are happening. And like my colleague said, we have had a bad history of abductions. And actually, I want to think that now it is getting it is getting to a level where everyone must be concerned, because the reason as to why everyone must be concerned, there are pointers. Especially if you look at how the these abductions or these human rights violations have been normalized. For instance, today you see the nature. If you observe the nature of the abductions, security operatives, at first they would come in civilian clothes, and they abduct, and the person would be taken away. But now, if you see how it is done, you will see that even people will come in uniform, and they abduct somebody and takes away. A case of Sam Mugumya in Mbarara, it is reported that the people came somewhere in civilian clothes, but also with the others in military attire. And the same case with this father, is this Deusdit?
Yes.
Sekabira
Yes.
of Masaka. The same case, and again, that shows you how the abductions have been normalized. Another thing is how people are taken in and it's like normal, taken in. A case of the Kenyan activists who came here at the start of the presidential campaigns, and they were abducted, taken to military detention. They spent there almost a month, and until there was a lot of pressure from all sides, and even from the Kenyan government, that's when they showed up. I mean, they were released. So the big concern, my concern, is how it is now becoming more like normal, that a person will just disappear, and then even if you come out and speak as we are speaking, nobody cares. They remained in detention. We have a case of Chibalama, who disappeared in 2019, and up to now it is coming to 5-6 years. We don't know. And the normalizing abductions, it is a big concern, because this shows you that it is coming to it is going to another level, where a person can be abducted, taken into detention, and then the state doesn't even issue a statement, then a week, a month, a year, and several years. So it is a big concern that everyone should be concerned. So that is the environment I'm talking about, that when we are operating in such an environment, you don't expect even the stakeholders, the people who are doing politics, that they will be free to express themselves, especially like in this time of election. You see what has been happening at political rallies, at campaign rallies. You eventually have people rounded up, taken, and luckily some of them have been arraigned before courts, but some of them are still missing. There are people who are still missing out. So it is a huge concern. But another matter of concern is the impunity. The impunity that is growing also in state agents and state bodies. That you have a person abducted, and then even to the extent that that Parliament, the Uganda Human Rights Commission, like we saw in this latest case, the Uganda Human Rights Commission comes out with a statement, issuing directives that such and such a person should be, if he or she is in detention, let us know where he is, or let him be released as the law prescribes. But nobody cares. The state plays that deaf ear. You have seen the police coming out to say, we don't have this person in our facilities, and The military at one point also, the UPDF also at one point said, we don't know where he is. Some of the people in the military said, we don't know. And even to the extent that somebody can say, we know these people even abduct themselves, that they have a history of abducting themselves. So that is the impunity that I'm talking about, that when you see people who have power also abusing power, to the extent that even the human rights defenders are also becoming targets, that even the media, we who operate in the media, now fear talking about these issues. As we are speaking here, there are things that we fear to speak about. We censure our conversations, what we share. We do it in a very calculative manner. That shows you the extent how the environment is becoming so toxic. So to answer your question, you said as we approach, actually we are in the middle of election, we are approaching polling day. You can be sure that people will be voting in fear. People who are in campaigns, people who are agents, will be very, very cautious on how they do their work, how they operate, and that is not good for democracy, and it is something we must be very, very concerned about.
Well, thank you so much. And you raise genuine concerns, of course. As we reflect on what Mr. Apollo said, Mr. Kazova, I want us to think about solutions, because right now we say that the institutions tasked with holding the executive, say in specific the military, accountable, cannot do it. The Human Rights Commission is not doing it. It cannot enforce some of its pronouncements. So what can Ugandans do? What power is there for us to leverage to end such things?
First of all, we should understand that human rights violations is not just a concern for citizens alone, but it should also be a concern for the sitting government, because it radicalizes the population, and a radical population can easily overthrow a government. We've seen it in Syria. Continued illegal detentions and torture of citizens resulted into a very serious insurrection in Syria. And for years, they thought citizens would not overpower government, but eventually they did. So it can happen. A radicalized population can overthrow government. So human rights violations should not just be our concern as individual citizens alone, but also for the sitting government. Now, that said, some agencies, especially law enforcement and the military, have begun engaging in human rights studies at specifically command level, senior command level. But they do not internalize it so deeply to appreciate the concept of human rights. Like I told you, our military was once upon a time a guerrilla outfit. So some of these issues that we discuss, things to do with human rights, some of those guys could not easily comprehend what we are talking about. For instance, a soldier coming to arrest you and you begin asking them for a warrant of arrest, the man will easily shoot you. Because for them, they expect that when he gives an order, bring this person, you are supposed to just obey. You don't begin questioning the orders. That's how they are trained. So their orientation, their mentality is not compatible with what we are discussing in regard to human rights. And that's where the biggest problem is. So the commanders, I've seen, this was as a result, of course, of the interaction between the AU and UN and our government, that our forces should study and internalize human rights. However, the foot soldiers now who are in the field, they don't understand what human rights is all about. And the commanders will always protect themselves. They will give the orders, not participate. Now, the people who are participating do not know that, for instance, caning you is a human right violation. Because in their training, they are also caned. You understand? When a soldier makes a mistake, he's caned. 100 sticks of chiboko. So him caning you is normal. He doesn't look at it as a human rights violation. Detaining you without taking you to court, to a soldier, it is normal. Because for them, in fact, they are also detained in a worse manner. And for days or months, if they have made mistakes. So the issue is with the foot soldiers now, the people in the field that are receiving commands. Go and stop Chaguranyi from campaigns. So when they come to the field, the conduct now cannot be regulated by the command. For them, they want to execute the task at hand. But their conduct, because they lack the training, they have not interacted with the human rights concept, they basically cannot understand. You've been to police stations. Me, I've gone to police stations severally. Now, when you want to help, for instance, a suspect to secure bond, it is unheard of to some police officers that a suspect should just walk out of a police station without at least even paying something. Yet bond is free. Supposedly it is free. 2, a police officer will tell you, I can arrest you anytime I want to arrest you. And the charge will come later after they have thought of a proper case. Yet the law says, first introduce yourself as a law enforcement agent, then tell this person why you are arresting them. So that this person knows the charge at least. But it is the other way around. Now, all these things are partly as a result of lack of training of the lower cadre enforcement agents and the soldiers. What is a more sustainable solution? The head is what we have to deal with, the president. Because the president is the problem. And I have observed this even in other countries. Once the president is a problem, then even his workers, up to the lowest cadre, they become a problem. If a president says, and you've heard our president saying that, why give somebody bail Why give a suspect a bail who we have presumed that has committed a capital offense? But this man is a suspect. So the state, unless you have evidence, why would you want somebody to stay on remand for a year?
Let me just ask a small follow-up question to that. You see, we've had several presidents in Uganda be the problem. How sure are we that dealing with this head will not give us the same result in a subsequent, say, regime?
Aha, that is a very, very good question. How a government comes in is the issue.
Oh.
If a government comes in via violence, then you have a problem. However smart they might position themselves as holy people, they will still conduct themselves in the same manner. So our position as citizens is that we must get a sane government through peaceful means, and a government that respects elections. Any group that comes in through violence will conduct itself in the same manner. Whether it is a coup, whether it is through civil disobedience or whatsoever, they will still conduct themselves in the same manner, commit the same excesses. Because, let me give you an example. Look at, for instance, Syria today. Their current president was a former terrorist.
Oh.
Yes, he was a member of the Islamic State, but also at one time a member of Al-Qaeda. Do you really think in your mind that this person, without any history of democratic credentials, will rule that country on the foundation of pure democracy? Because of the way that he has conducted his past, he is most likely not going to change as a leader. He will see torture as a tool for effective governance, illegal detention as a normal practice. But people, and that is why the West beats us, all of us, that they respect democracy to the core.
But we are also being ruled by former rebels, former bandits.
But that is what exactly I'm saying. Me, I cannot, for instance, expect Museveni to become a Democrat. He will never. Yes, he studied something to do with the democracy. He understands it. But he cannot become a Democrat because of his past. He succeeded
Through
violence. So how does he change? How do you persuade him? And he appreciates that by applying pure democracy, he can achieve certain results. Yet he knows that his system delivered the results easily.
It's the most effective means.
To him, it is the most effective. You understand? That is a big problem. So our leaders should be evaluated on their past before we even bring them into office. What is your track record? If you believe in violence, then we don't expect much from you, because you are going to conduct yourself in a similar manner as the bad regimes that we detest as a country. So our elections, even as an MP, by the way, I get so surprised. How can people elect somebody who has persuaded members of the armed forces to come and help him in his constituency? As Ugandans, that should be unacceptable. from day one, if we realize that you had any connection with the military in elections, then we should be able to expand you from our process. Even though government might allow you, let us protest by not electing you. Because you're going to be a problem. Once you succeed in getting into parliament by using police and the military here at constituency level, then your mindset will be tuned to even using the military in your bigger ambitions tomorrow. If you want to be president, if you want to achieve certain results, you will keep deploying and using the military against citizens. So citizens should be very, very mindful and assess these people even before they go for these big ambitions. If you were a councillor, why do you want to manipulate the arrest of your opponent using the police? If we discover that you have done it, then you are an enemy to the population. So we deal with you at that level. We exclude you from the process. We do not elect you into any office. Because that's how dictators start. When it begins in a small way, when it works out, then they utilize the same method in their future ambitions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kazova. Now, Council Collins, we're fast coming to the end of this conversation, and Mr. Kazova talked about active citizenry, especially in checking our leaders who do not follow the law or who apply a lot of excesses in achieving power. I want us to talk about one thing that I believe is very important. As a Gen Z myself, we've been accused of not knowing what this country is about, of lacking civic education. What role do you believe civic education plays in having an active citizenry that can check bad leaders?
Thank you. I would want to say, me, I'm someone who doesn't prevent the generational gaps we have. The Gen Zs, the millennials, and other generations. It's not that the young are the ones to come and speak on our end. Even us who are in the millennial ages and other generations, we have to come out and speak. So if the Gen Z are checking this position or the status of leadership that we have, then it should be now a point to the people who are in leadership to also now reflect on themselves. Because when we were growing up, they used to tell us young people cannot advise someone who is older than them. But I've seen it on several occasions when young are advising someone, and it's a good step that someone takes and says, wow, last time someone told me this and it was good. So where we've reached as a nation, we need to balance both angles. We have been in a government of over 40 years, that most of the people in leadership we have of that generation, they don't know what these people these days are facing down here, because in trends of change, technology, different things that are coming along. So I would want to maybe put it out that the nation itself, we need people of this young generation to also access these people and advise them and talk out. Civic education has always been there. TVs have tried, NGOs have tried, but do they get to the core point of that person that needs to understand that there should be a change? Because we may talk here, someone will be among the, I'm sorry to say it, we may be here right now. Truth to be told, you find that the entire discussion we have shared for this 1 hour, there's no person in leadership who is going to even take a note to know that there was something that was being shared here. Kazola said something, Ms. Apollo said something, but no one in leadership will understand that there's something we're talking about that is useful in one way or the other. So I think we should not only also stop on this sometimes. We need to have an area that people can put ideas. I don't think in the country, the people who would share ideas are MPs, the parliamentarians, and they have not done it for us. So maybe the country should be on a point of getting a neutral organization or a neutral body that people can share ideas, and these ideas are brought on board and they evaluate themselves. I've already seen parliamentarians checking themselves that the MP of maybe this constituency, this is how he has performed, this is how he has performed. But even the people they say that have performed very well, they have not done anything good to us. So civic education does not only stop on going to the doors to talk to everyone. All the Gen Zs, how they want to do it, like they want to demonstrate, they want to run here and there. I think I would do civic education, even in schools. I've not seen it being taught somewhere. People, they only teach you, the people who had elections, it's election commission, those are the things they will teach you. They give you that dot of, they will not give you deep what EC should be doing. They will not give you the dot of, if you ask someone what is the meanings of maybe let me say energy and minerals are all about, is someone in our, apart from someone doing his own research maybe after growing up, there are those areas where you go and ask, what does this minister do? And no one is going to tell you what the minister does. So we need to understand that in schools also, however much they are trying to change syllabus and whatsoever, there should be that point of having this civic social life being taught. Not only stopping or being watched on TV and be like, hey, I've watched something on TV, this should be like this. No. Even the schools, they should also adopt this. I'll be of point to say, when you look at our constitution, Article 4, it says that the constitution will be translated in different languages of the nation. We have many languages here, but I'll tell you that the constitution has never even been interpreted.
I think it has. There are several interpretations. There are some interpretations, but
no, those interpretations were done on an individual basis, a society basis, not the government, not the nation. Because now, if right now we are making 30 years with our constitution, right? Because I think by next year, we have already made 30 years. And the government, our government itself, apart from these civic societies and regional basis of like someone saying, let us do it, the government has not even taken that step. I don't think, maybe Apollo can correct me, we have ever secured a budget for that. No. So what does it mean? It means that we only have something into writing, but is not being done. So I would want that, however much we're having these abductions.
Yeah, but it is deliberate.
It's deliberate.
The authorities, the powers that be do not want people to understand what is in their constitution.
Yes. So I would think we'd reach a point of also having that done, so that at least these issues that we are facing, that because when you look at the majority rate in the country, even some few people have never seen the constitution. Many people have not seen the constitution. They don't even know how it looks like. There are those people have never, I think, me myself opening the constitution when I was in my first year at campus doing law. So when I came to know there's a constitution, my father bought it for me, and it took me also a week to understand that, hey, this is the core law of the nation. Until I went to the constitutional class and I was told those things. So we need to have, not only have the Gen Zs or the people who know about this taking place, also the government should also take a step to know that we can do this better by providing the services. If these rights, the Gen Zs are the ones to talk about that this is bad and it is also kept quiet there. I remember last time the Gen Zs who had to meet parliamentarians, they were called at parliament. But I don't know what they came back from there. It ended there because I remember that time that said, we have to demonstrate. The Gen Zs went there. They didn't demonstrate. Then they were called the next day, after like 2 to 3 days, to go to parliament and meet these people. But from the time they came back from there, they have never given the accountability to their fellow Gen Zs what took place in those houses, and it ended there. So you even find that now we are always sometimes, we are always corrupted when we have a good idea. So it will not differentiate the millennials and the Gen Zs if we don't step in our spaces to work together and speak together. It will not. We need to work with each other and we speak out. Because even I've seen sometimes the Gen Zs dissing the millennials. For you people have not helped us. So you want to isolate yourselves from them. We would rather be together in one boat and we see how we can work together. And in working together, it will bring a change. I think meet what I can try to, if I evaluate that, it is a matter of the Gen Zs working with other generations. They appreciate. To the extent I'm shocked. I've met different presidential advisors. As my friend was saying, if we are to, we need a change to remove the problem being the top. We need to have a change. But we've instituted presidential advisors, all these advisors in different ministerial bodies, who are not even of the Gen Z's generation. They're not even the millennials. I think the millennial person who would be of use right now would be the Minister of Energy, Nyamutoro, because they're in the millennial stage. And this lady from Abel, I think those are, yeah, Abel, those are the ones who are in the current cabinet who are millennials. But how do they now come to the point of helping out? Because they're not even presidential advisors. When you look at the presidential advisor, I think the youngest may not even be in 40s. And why are they positioned there? They are positioned there to help this man, as he said, since for him he believes that I did this to come into power. These are the people who should be now giving him the trends, how changes are coming in. So I think if I would be pleased to see that among our presidents.
Were they appointed to do so? They were appointed to earn, to have a source of income.
But when he's coming out, he says a presidential advisor. Let him come out and say he's
the one who advised them.
Yeah, you don't expect them to do what
Thank you, gentlemen. I want us to wrap this up because unfortunately our time is fast spent. So I know many people say that presidential advisors are appointed as pawns of political patronage, and whether or not that is true, Civic Space TV cannot comment. Yeah. However, I would like to get parting shots from my panelists before we close this show.
I want to also give what I think could be a solution to this whole thing.
Okay, can you give the solution, then you give your parting shots?
Yeah, I don't want to agree with council that nobody is watching us, that these people are not watching us. In this information era, somehow the message will filter through and it will get to them. Even these, we call big people, now have hired media assistants, or I don't know what they call them, who monitor and who listen to what is in public discourse. That is why I'm saying we should keep speaking. We should keep, asserting ourselves. Everyone has a role to play in this issue because human rights issue affects all. It affects all of us. So I want to encourage everyone to keep speaking about these issues, even when the level of impunity is growing and growing, and we'll always have opposition. We'll have somebody to try to suppress these voices. We should keep speaking about our rights. We should keep asserting ourselves, and somehow the message will come through. But like my friend Kazova said, you cannot underestimate the power of the people. These people who are doing these things are very few. I can tell you they are very few. And we who are being oppressed, we are very many. The number is growing. The people the Gen Zs are the majority in this country. So we'll reach a point where the critical mass will have the critical mass to come out and force change. Because if you ignore change, change will change you. A point will come, a time will come when you will be overwhelmed. We have seen governments, like Kazova said, in Syria, in Libya, where the powerful have been overwhelmed by the masses. So it is a lesson, like he said, to the people who think today that they are powerful, that you cannot overwhelm the power of the people. At one point, these voices will triumph.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kazawa, please give us your parting shots.
Well, me, I can only call for peaceful elections. Of course, the process might not be so fair, but I mean, everything has a starting point. Let us go there, especially when it comes to our local leaders, because those have immediate impact on us. The mayors, the councillors, when it comes to hygiene, when it comes to these small issues which have direct impact on the ordinary person. Let us focus on choosing credible people and not just elect people because they are our relatives, they are our friends, they have given us something to eat. Let us elect people who are going to work for this country and are going to put this country first in their ambitions. Me, I don't even look at parties as a major determinant in our elections because they have been a menace. We can't expect much, but we should focus on individuals, the track record of these individuals. Are they thieves? Have they stolen somewhere? If somebody has stolen, please, that person may not stop stealing today. They will keep stealing, so they will take your money that you are paying as taxes. They will steal it. They will even come and steal your land and evict you. So look at the track record. Try to assess who these people are. People who are even smuggling in fictitious academic papers. Somebody who doesn't have the right papers, that person is likely to also become a criminal in the future. So the record of an individual who is contesting for office is very, very important. Don't focus even on what they are promising you, that they will give you bridges or what. Their track record is the best determinant in having these people, in electing these people into office. So as a country, if we want a bright future, let us elect good people from down. The top will be sorted out. Me, I'm not even worried about the top, because that one is almost a done deal. But now the bottom, because this is the foundation. If we can have the right foundation, then the top will be easily sorted out.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, to Council Collins, in a minute, please give us your parting shots and then we can close.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the team I've been with on this panel. Thank you, Space TV and everyone that is watching us out there. My conclusion on this is that we've discussed a lot and we've spoken a lot. I know at least every day, Civic Space TV is outside there engaging people. What we need to do and what we need to know is we need to appreciate our rights from day one, and we know that these are given rights. They are not even given by the states, and we are the ones to protect them, or we are the ones to have them upheld. And having them upheld, we need to not only shy away sometimes, because I would imagine that there's a person outside there who has something that is relevant and wants to air it out, but he fears because he knows tomorrow he may be, let's say he may be abducted. It is the community as well to work hand in hand so that we can have these rights upheld. Idea right now, maybe in my conclusion remarks, is that people in Masaka may not be knowing why they have abducted their priest, because the information people are getting is saying, there are people are saying, he's talked about this in church, was preaching. But he has to preach. He has to educate the masses. So in preaching, and he's trying to educate the masses, and you find that what he has spoken that very day, it is maybe controversial to your ideologies, it does not need you to abduct him. Call him aside and speak to him aside. But what we're getting from the state, they are saying he had a gun. A gun for what? A priest of all people. So we need to also be certain that the state also has to make sometimes clear grounds for us, not rivers in suspenses, rivers in doubt, because all along, as he said, our leaders are the ones to do this. Because if right now, Parliament, as he said, demand for accountability of why he's inside there, it will open space. But as the leaders we have, as he said, some of them are not bothered.
They are looking for votes.
They are looking for votes. They are not bothered. But right now, the defenders of our rights, as he said, Parliament has got a committee on human rights. We have Human Rights Commission. This Sewanyana in Zambia has a Human Rights Foundation, something initiative. All those bodies, if they can merge hand in hand, we shall have a society that is peaceful, that is good for us to live. Even I've seen in Kambo Chalanda, there is this humanitarian for journalists, that branch for journalists.
They don't have money, you said it.
So
they are constrained.
They're constrained. But I think with that, these civil societies that are so much concerned with civic society and how people should live in the community, they're doing a good job, but they need to put it into another level by not only, I think they need even to be always invited for these talk shows, so that they can also speak out the challenges they face, why maybe they're not reaching up to the last person deep down there. And as he said, let us go and vote. Let us choose our leaders very well, because they are our mouse what? Pieces wherever they always be. So we need to look at the leaders, not the one who has bought for me salt tonight and I've put in my food, but the leader who will work for me tomorrow, and the leader who is capable. Otherwise, I'm so much honored and thank you very much.
May I want to thank you, Nancy, our host today, and the team at Civic Space. Thank you so much for the time and the platform.
We're humbled. Thank you so
And
much.
we wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. So we have come to the end of this show. It has been focused on Parliament on Civic Space TV by the Center for Constitutional Governance. My name is Nancy Caroline Ayot, and to you, our viewers, I would like you to tell us how you are keeping yourself safe, especially during this election time, but also what you think about the disappearances of people. Like, subscribe, follow us on our social medias. Thank you and goodbye.